All right, y'all, we're going to check out this boudoir photography business and see if it has BSS for these two Google searches. So we're back here in the GBC universe. So we take declining boudoir photographers, make them into the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More of that and, like the pinned post or whatever, featured post on this profile. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So for Ryzen, we're probably getting everyone across the entire intent spectrum, the intent ladder here. High intent on the left, lowest intent over on the right. And if with Watt photographer, their business is falling, probably missing chunks of people here in the intent spectrum. So here we talk about way on the left, BSS. So we're focusing on the highest intent people, the people searching for boudoir photo shoots in their city right now on social media and in Google search. So closest to the money, easiest to close. And way over at the other end, that's the lowest intent people in our city. Got to reach them with interruption ads via Instagram and Facebook. Maybe they know what boudoir is. Maybe they've never heard of it. We got to educate them. And so that's what we talked about on our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. We talked about BLCS. And right now we're only working with boudoir. Over there, we're only working with boudoir photographers, spending more than 10 grand per month on boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so boudoir search sameness, BSS. That's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on Google, on page 1 of Google search for the highest intent keywords. So 0 slots, we're going to be dead soon if we got 0 slots on page 1. That's because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never go past page 1. They're page 1 only. So that means approximately 20% go to page 2 and deeper. So we care about this 80%, the bulk of the market. This is who we're going to focus on. So if we got 0 slots, we're visible to 80% of the market, which means we're basically an invisible business. If we got 1 slot, we're still essentially invisible because we look the same as everyone else. If there's 10 organic slots page 1 on Google, if other peeps, if there's 9 other boudoir photographers than us, that means, we got 1 link same as everyone else, and a buyer's just going to go down page 1 Google search, control click, right click, open a new tab, everyone, shoot a message to everyone, get price quotes, compare pricing, and price shop, everyone on page 1. But if we can get more real estate on page 1 and fewer competitors on page 1, we actually get price shop less. Now, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google is not normal. It's extremely common, but it's not normal. It's actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation, which basically everyone knows about, and the previously unknown root cause, which we now know, is actually the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, that's when someone gets a new phone, they are a new iPhone, and they throw up their own Google My Business profiles, and then now shoot boudoir. They got their own website. They're trying to compete with us for page 1 Google supremacy. And as a result, we also got people getting a new camera, then they start posting the mom groups on Facebook, and they also offer boudoir photography. So market saturation means more sellers to the same number of buyers. That's literally what it means. It means it's harder and harder for each seller to win. So everyone understands also big market saturation happened during COVID. People couldn't work, people lost their jobs, and they had to, big flood of boudoir photographers came into the market then because people had to, because they needed to earn money somehow. Now, the previously unknown root cause, the second one, is the false belief of page 1 equality. And what that is, so the default belief of page 1 equality, which kind of people automatically accepted, they didn't really think about it because there was no term to actually describe it, is actually kind of assuming or just accepting that, every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google for their website, and if the market gets saturated, it pushes off page 1 to page 2, because some new websites ranking higher. Well, that's how it is, and that's simply how it is, whatever. That's the game, and hopefully someone deletes their website, so maybe we can get back on page 1 and Google lets us back in. But no, that is 100% false. That is a false belief, and we have to simply accept that. What I've discovered is Google will actually give us as many links and slots on page one Google search as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And I use this strategy that we're going to talk about to go from 0 out of 10 slots on page one to 9 out of 10 slots on page one of Google search in 10 days. So we'll talk about that in like 3 or 4 more pictures here. Next up, we know that Boudoir photographer with BSS, Boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing Boudoir photographer. So if we got 0 slots on page one, we're on page two, we're invisible to the 80%, approximately 80% bulk of the market. Disappearing Boudoir photographer, we got disappeared onto page two. And if we're, one slot on page one of Google, then we're also disappearing because we're not visible. I mean, people don't see no difference between us and everyone else on page one of Google. Literally nothing different. And there's a clicking price shop plus everyone down page one. And again, approximately 80% of Google searches never even go to page two. So we don't got to worry. We literally don't have to worry about page one. And disappearing Boudoir photographer, basically it's the canary in the coal mine. If one becomes a disappearing Boudoir photographer, pretty soon thereafter, the boudoir photography business will disappear as well. But now we have a solution. So we now know that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka our S-cubed methodology that we invented. And again, this is exactly the strategy, the methodology I use to go from 0 out of 10 slots on Google page one to 9 out of 10 slots on Google page one in 10 days. And this is the only strategy for boudoir photographers that I've seen that can actually successfully fight back and against market saturation and continue to grow market share. And so it works by, and we'll go deeper into it, but the name, social search saturation. We saturate social search for our highest intent keywords. There's kind of like the feeder rivers, small feeder rivers from the Andes Mountains and to the Amazon. And kind of all that reputation, the keyword dominance on search flows into the Amazon River, page one Google search, and the pages thereafter for what we want to rank for. And so, yeah, this is the only thing that I've seen that successfully fights back against market saturation and basically kind of makes it null and void. Because imagine we're in Las Vegas, imagine there's 1 million boudoir photographers total, we're one of them. Everyone's got a boudoir photography website, everyone's trying to rank on Google, page one Google. But if we crank up S-cube methodology to the maximum, and let's say we rank, the first 300 slots across all social platforms for search, and as a result, we also rank the first 300 slots Google for search for the highest intent keywords for boudoir photographer buyers. Then anytime a buyer in our city literally searches anywhere, most likely Google, 90% of searches still, approximately 90% of searches still happen on Google. Then we got the first 300 slots and there's 10 organic slots per page. We got the first 30 pages all to ourselves for the organic slots. And all the other competitors in organic, they start on page 31. No one's going to page 31. So even if the market's ultra saturated with 1 million boudoir photographers, whose business is still growing? Ours. Whose business is disappearing? All the other boudoir photographers, because they cannot be found. And guess what? Approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. They're page one only, which means we really only got to worry about page one and take as much, we say a GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 is what we want to take. But, S-cubed methodology gives us a pathway to take as many slots on page one as we want, if we put in the effort to acquire those slots. Now, once treated with S-cubed methodology, we have page one visibility. A bonus of this is every new slot we take on Google page one is we are kicking a competing boudoir photographer off page one, effectively making them invisible. Again, that's because we actually know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. They're page one only searches. And that's all we care about. This is the bulk of the market, the approximately 80% of searches that happen like this. Now, page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. Now, our GBC recommended is always to hit 3 out of the 10 slots on page one, and that helps with boudoir search visibility because everyone else is going to have most likely one slot on page one. So when they see 3 versus 1, when buyers see 3 versus 1, they're instinctively going to say, wow, why is Google recommending this person so many different times. Um, you know, I'll just go with this person that's got the 3 slots. There is a tiny, tiny, tiny chance that another boudoir photographer will have 2 slots, but in those tiny chances, our 3 slots will always overwhelm them. So that's why we want boudoir search visibility. And a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our full micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. We now know it's false, but when people believed it prior, they never thought to try a solution to overcome it because they thought it was just the default, just how it is. But we've proven, we'll see in the next picture, proven that that's incorrect. We now have the path, we now have the solution, our own proprietary S-cubed methodology to achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, and to have boudoir search visibility. So my results using S-cubed methodology for myself. So I want to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. So I employed S-cubed methodology. Go down to the organics here. So we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So I went from 0 out of 10 slots to 9 out of 10 slots, Google search page 1, in 10 days, exclusively using S-cubed methodology. And I was using on the minimum setting, like kind of the minimum, kind of the minimum frequency. So you can see the results that I got. And now we're gonna check out this. We're gonna see if this boudoir photography business has BSS, what we've been talking about, boudoir search sameness. All right. The first search, we always do the local search. This is boudoir photographer, Langley Township, British Columbia. So it's out east, some suburb part or whatever of BC. So we got the Google 3-pack. All right. Now we're at the organic. So we got Klein. All right, this is who we're looking for. So we got 1 slot. And then let's see. All right, Klein again, but that's Langley Branding Photographer. It's not boudoir. We're not relevant to the keywords that we actually searched. So people's brains are actually going to scroll right by this, not even see it because they're searching for boudoir. And this happens like instantly in their brain. So that doesn't count. Going down, going down, going down. All right, so Klein we got 1 out of 10 here. So that's BSS for this search, the local search. Let's go to the city level search. Now we're searching boudoir photographer, Vancouver, BC. So we're still looking for Klein again. All right, we got Klein here, boudoir, all right. And that's it. We got BSS for both searches. So, as more market saturation happens, higher chance, we'll begin pushed off, that we get pushed off page 1 to page 2 of death. And even on page 1, we're looking the same as everyone else, having only 1 out of 10 links here. So again, this is the false belief of page 1 equality in action, which is actually the most common false belief I'm seeing among boudoir photographers. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, you've done a local search for the highest intent keywords for buyers in your city, in your local area and your city, and you're seeing you've got boudoir search sameness, either 0 or 1 slots on page 1. You're not hitting the GBC to minimum on page 2. And you understand, you kind of broken through the brain barrier that, page 1 equality, that's a false belief, and we can actually take as many page 1 slots as we want. And you've also seen market saturation. Yeah, more people getting more iPhones, new iPhones, get new cameras who come with boudoir photographers. But you also see AI going to be taking more and more people's jobs, leading into way more boudoir photographers coming into the market. And you're saying, oh man, got to prepare for this big supply side shock that's coming. And we can do that by, and you're saying, oh, S cubed methodology, perfect. That's perfect for that. It allows us to saturate social search, which then allows, as a result, allows us to saturate page one Google search for the highest intent keywords. So basically anywhere any buyer searches, we are dominating kind of the attention space there. And so you're seeing S cubed methodology. You want to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, achieve boudoir search visibility. You want to hit the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 on all of the, on all of the local search and city search. And so you're seeing SQL methodology is what you want to utilize. And you're also seeing kind of the extra bonuses on the back end. Kind of more thematic keyword columns that we create that we use SQL methodology around the highest intent keywords. Then the higher the probability that we get ranked here for AI overview for local search and city search, kind of as the only featured prominent one, because this is pulling from, thematic keyword kind of repetition, authority, age. So higher chance of achieving that with SQL methodology kind of as a back-end bonus, and higher chance of showing up in AI search. I actually have an AI search on the back-end ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, Claude, Perplexity. Because I remember last time I checked for boudoir photographers in the city, dude, it only brought up 3. So if we get our kind of our thematic keyword columns created attached to our brand, then a higher chance we show up in Google, all these AI searches. And as a result, kind of some back-end bonus. Also, the more we do S-cubed methodology, kind of more momentum we build up against anyone else, any other boudoir photographers competing against us in our current city. So my plan right now is to only work with one boudoir photographer for a city. So we can build up all that distance, all that momentum, all these front end benefits, obviously, saturating social search and Google page one search, kicking other boudoir photographers off. Also the back end momentum, high recommendations, AI overview, Google search, and AI, all the different AI searches in general. And as a result, you're saying, hey, probably should be a first mover on this because someone else is a first mover in our city, then, and since my plan is to work with only one person per city on this at a time, then if you weren't working with me, you have to rederive S-cubed methodology on your own, kind of our proprietary method. And then even when you don't know if you're doing it exactly right, or exactly as we've derived it, then you have to equal our execution to maintain the gap between your competitor and your competitor who I could be working with. And you'd actually have to double or triple our capacity to kind of make up all the momentum we would have already achieved. And so you're like, all right, it's better to simply, be first mover on this, get prepared for AI to force some more boudoir photographers into the market. And so you're like, all right, SQ methodology is what I need. I'm ready to go now. So if that's you, shoot me a DM when my DM's open. I'm currently not open for new patient intake, but I will let you know when I am. The hospital is not currently open for new patient intake, but when I do open the hospital, keep watching these videos. That'll tell you actually when the hospital's open. Shoot us a DM and we'll see if you qualify for S-cubed methodology.